just to like sweep something under the rug or just to be like, okay, fine, you got it. You're right. Are we done? Can we put this to bed? That doesn't really solve issues. Like it is best to take a beat, sleep on it, and maybe just think more clearly about your position, about the other person's position, and you guys can have a more adult conversation without the arguing and the yelling or whatever. Maybe tomorrow.
You know, here's my issue with going to sleep mad, right? Like, I don't mind being upset. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect, right? Or me. But finding a middle ground before we go to sleep is so important to me because I've been in relationships where we didn't and we'll go to sleep. And when we
Somebody
wake
died.
up, nah.
No, that's what I keep
What, you just
thinking.
pretend it didn't happen?
No, because I'm assuming that we're living together, right? So, like, let's say we're living together in this example. We argue, we fight, we go to sleep mad, and then we wake up. And let's just say if usually you cook breakfast in the morning, and now you don't cook breakfast.
You ain't got no
I'm
breakfast,
just adding
bruh.
on to the tally. And then let's say
make you breakfast.
no, but I'm saying like now I know that you're stepping out of the routine, which is crazy to me. So now let's say if I usually do something for you at around noon, right? And now because you didn't make me breakfast, I ain't doing what I do for you at noon.
Well, you're going tit for tat. You're just
and-
being reactive.
And that exactly. And that's why I think that finding middle ground is so important for me because I have a problem with over expanding myself when we're having an argument because I usually try to diffuse it regardless because I can't do confrontation for too long without getting extremely upset. So for me to like diffuse that and to make sure that I check myself, I'm like, yo, listen, hey, I'm not saying we got to solve this right now, but you know, this and this happened, this and this was said. I kind of get what you're saying. You kind of get what I'm saying, but let's revisit this tomorrow. But like at least going to bed at a cool level and upset rather than going to bed angry.
Yeah.
Because like I don't do well when the tit for tat starts. And then from there, it's like a slippery slope. Because then that's when we not married? Okay. Feel me?
Right. So if you're married, you
I
can
was
just go
about
to sleep.
Say, well, if
Yeah,
you're
man.
not married, then don't expect no breakfast.
I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Wait, what? What'd you say?
Wait, if you're not married, then don't expect the breakfast.
No,
This
if you're
is
in a
outrageous.
look,
Like,
if
I
I've
can't
been
talk to
making
24-year-olds.
breakfast for you 362 days,
Yeah.
and we have an argument, I'm gonna still make you your breakfast.
Thank you.
But it's just like the issue's just not resolved.
But that'll make me like, see, that to me is like when you're really in love with the relationship and you're committed to the relationship. When you can do those things even despite your anger. Like I can't do well with spiteful actions. Like spiteful actions to me is malicious. Anything malicious to me is an attack. Anything that's an attack to me gets a response. That's just how I respond to it. So like if you start being spiteful towards me,
Did you think about that like before you just said it?
no.
He has boots on. He's at war.
Why?
I was about to say, is this how you go about your arguments at home? Like, do you have that correlated in your brain already?
In my mind, anything spiteful to me is malicious. Anything malicious to me is an attack.
Yeah, that rolled off the tongue for you.
I've
That's
never
why I
said it
was-
before, but
okay.
I'm good at my job. Thank you. So what happens to me is like once you start the spiteful actions, to me now you just open up a whole different playing field, and it's never good, not for me and not for you. And especially because I usually try to be the bigger person before we go to sleep. So you already showed shoot me away, and then you go on to be spiteful the next morning. I just can't do well with those things. So for me, going to bed mad is a no-go. So I think if somebody gave me that advice, I would say the way I respond to it, thank you. Because I need that.
Thank you.
I think it depends on what you're discussing.
Like
or
who's
what
in the
was,
wrong?
Yeah, or what was done.
That's all
That's
right.
another thing,
because-
though.
That's
Like
true.
the whole wrong and right. Like I'm not.
Yeah, like
Well-
we could be arguing about something. You could think that I'm wrong about something. But I
No.
think
That's not what I'm talking about. There are things that are like clearly wrong. You recognize that it's wrong.
Right.
We both recognize that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like
I-
morally wrong.
No, it broke an agreement
Like,
that has
let's
been
just say he-
established in that relationship.
Like an
I think-
example would be he stepped outside of the relationship in a sexual manner.
No, let's say you went
I'm
and
not going to bed.
Spent,
I'm mad about that.
like $10,000 that we had planned for something else.
Okay.
And I ain't know.
Oh yeah, it's gonna take more than one night.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like things,
30 days.
I think it depends on like what we're discussing or what we're arguing about because, we both know you wrong, but in my mind, I need to know like what led you to do that. Like what gave you the authority or the confidence to think that that was a good decision. You know, I just have to understand because you can't just say you went and spent our money, you know, that we had set aside for something else. Your money, do what you want to do. I don't give a fuck. But our money,
Like we've been like stacking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so
We had like a shared goal.
exactly.
And then you just went off track.
So again, it goes back to what the argument is over. And I just don't, it's not always possible to go to bed
Resolve.
unbothered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I say situations like that, I say the same amount of effort and energy that you spent in that action or allegation, whatever the reason for that discernment is, you need to spend the same amount of energy in that apology. So if you spent $10,000 and you probably planned for this,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
and it
Like-
took you a week to plan, it's going to take you a week to apologize.
The generic statements are the worst. Like men ain't shit. Like all bitches. Da da da. Like no. Like you need to stop
Time out,
right
hold on. All
there.
bitches think it's
No,
It's
it's not. It's
Little
not.
accurate, little accurate.
Think like what do men think like?
You can't think like a man, Steve. Like it doesn't matter. Like who. Like if you're a woman, it's impossible for you to think like a man. If you're a man,
I mean, it's possible.
It is possible.
It's
He gave the
possible.
whole book.
Yo,
It's very
could read.
possible.
book is not.
We could also get the audiobook.
He
but
gave a book.
And he
There is a
borderline-
movie.
and he's iffy on the man side.
and
Like
visual.
Oh wow.
like he's a little. You know what I'm saying like.
Whatever. This is what the internet says. Men and women have different approaches to relationships. In the book, Steve Harvey argues that men and women often think and act differently in relationships simply because they're wired differently. Men tend to be more logical and practical, while
knew it.
women tend to be more emotional and intuitive.
Knew it. Okay.
Kat,
let me
did
tell
you read the book? That sounds so great. That was great PR work.
But it doesn't even work.
Yeah, I saw the movie and heard the book.
I think that women whose fathers were like very like instrumental in raising them and like teaching them lessons, I think are more likely to be thought of as like women who think like men.
You're saying something?
My thing is, although I do agree, I don't know your dad, Aaron, but if I had to guess, he's a cool guy, right? We have to understand something. There's a lot of dudes out here that are not a cool guy. So there's a lot of dudes out here that can teach a woman how to think like a man because they don't really even think like a man.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So when we have men who are, because there are men who are very much non-reactive, but they're very much pushovers and they're I guess like they don't have the strong boundaries that men typically would have. When we have men like that trying to give advice to women, which there's a lot of these dudes on podcasts nowadays, and I won't say any names, even though I've been on a name spree.
Name names, Rico. No, don't name names.
You almost got me, Julia.
kidding.
You almost got me.
Carmen.
So like, there's a lot of men on the podcast who are not really a full on man. And if we had to ask me what is a full on man, it's just a man who can embody all the challenges of the world, weigh a lot on his shoulders, and still function the same and learn how to distribute that weight differently to a point where he can still bring ease and peace to his surroundings. So thinking like a man is hard to say when you look at it when it's coming from a man who doesn't even really fully think like a man himself.
A relationship is like what you make it, not what it's like told to us to be. So like maybe for you, like if a guy cheated on you, well, that's cheating, period. Where it's like if you have a relationship where it's like set up for you to explore other things, then like that's not cheating. But to the outsider, it would look like cheating. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Wait,
So-
if there's no
It's
deception
like open
in there.
relationship kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It would be
but-
like
But
that.
that's
What if there is deception though? Let's just say
those are
hypothetically.
terms of agreement from the
Yeah.
beginning.
What
right?
is-
like
what is-
that's not cheating. That's like the terms of agreement. But if there's some deception in there, that's
Okay.
a little bit different.
Okay, I
right?
get what you're saying. Yes, yes.
Like we agreed, me and Mara are not going to be outside of this relationship, and
and
then you
you do.
you
So you
cast
break
me-
the rule.
prancing like a deer in some other woman's lawn.
not prancing.
Okay.
Is it because you don't
I guess
love
like
Mara
you know,
anymore?
like-
Yeah.
Yeah,
or you just have a high sexual appetite?
well, that's the thing.
Or
Okay, so
drive.
going back. So what that's what it
thing
was, right?
too.
What was it, Alan? If you cheat, just because he cheats doesn't mean
he doesn't love you?
yeah, that's a fact because yeah, usually men will cheat and still love their woman, even if he loves his other woman too.
Ooh, yikes.
Okay.
This
you
is-
see,
I-
I was
I-
only talking about cheating.
I'm just
On a
saying that he
sexual level.
still
Now
will
you're
love.
just spreading
Yeah,
the
now
love.
you're-
I'm just saying he can still love. Like
So you're saying
you
he's
can
in
love
love.
another one
Bitch
person.
now?
So if he
You don't
cheat,
love me.
what? He doesn't love you?
You got you 2 times like you were emotionally with someone else. You got another bitch.
I got two.
Nah, you're out of here.
Okay,
You
but
don't
so
love
if
her?
she has
But
two,
why-
or if you have two, can she have two?
Wait, time out. We're talking about my love. I ain't talking about her love.
No.
Wait, can we
No.
stay? Can we stay on my love?
Hold on, it's
Two
always the same
boyfriends on
thing.
like
We're not
right
talking
here.
about my
Exactly.
acceptance. I'm just talking about my ability to love more than one.
You don't have to be monogamous. I don't think that it's natural to be monogamous if we were to strip everything. However, obviously, like monogamy works clearly because that's how America was built. Like that's how families came, that's how kids were born, that's all of that. So I think that it can work and I think that it can not work at the same time. I am like a very much believer in gray.
You just have to choose what works for you.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
hate that fucking thing so much. If I could like take that and put it into an object and just step on it
Launch
and
it.
spit on it and light it on
But
fire.
choose what works for
and just-
you. Was that your bad advice?
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
Yes. And then I could just light it on fire and just throw it out. And I'd be like, that's what works for you, gets you. Basura.
But what if you want to have like a wife and kids and the person that you want doesn't want to get married or have kids?
Then,
So then you don't date them or but like
yeah, but like, okay. What I don't want to do is I don't want to utilize what is majority of our natural standards in terms of procreation, which is typically the idealistic goal with a partner, into my preferences. Now, if you were to say, "Hey, would you want a girl who cooks and clean?" and I'm like, "Nah, I don't want a girl that cooks or clean. She doesn't need to cook and clean." That's a whole different ball game, right? Because now that's a preference. But like having a kid, I feel like is majority of men's thing, right?
why though?
Well, it's because of legacy. Like usually men think
Ego.
legacy. Usually men think ahead. We want to keep like, for example, especially if you go from the history of men.
Why do you need to have offspring? You specifically.
Me specifically?
Yeah, like what is the like what how do you know that your kid's going to carry the same legacy that you have or the same truth that you have?
It's not their purpose to carry the same legacy as me. But my purpose is to set them up in a position where they can carry whatever legacy that they like. But realistically, procreation is really about, in my opinion, procreation is really about just bringing in individuals that's going to help better society. I'm a big humanitarian myself, so like I do.
If you don't get your ass out of here,
No, I'm being for real.
what humanitarian efforts do you give to?
Well, first of all, I could. Well, I mean,
But do you
in
know
all
what I mean now?
in all honesty, like I could tell you tens of thousands of dollars that I personally have spent to give back to homeless shelters, and from here all the way to Las Vegas, every single Thanksgiving. I remember I brought out a whole truck on some Frank Lucas and had 500 dinners that I've given out on Thanksgiving. I have a lot of things that I do and I give back. Like that's my thing. Like I don't believe in certain things. So all in all, like making the world a better place doesn't always have to be an action of giving. But if you're giving or action of giving some type of physical thing like money, clothes, or food, but knowledge is key. And I really personally believe 99% of people are running around here without any knowledge of what this world really is, was, and how we really, constructed it. Now, my goal is to bring a kid into this world, help enlighten them, and hopefully that they do some type of good to the cause. I don't know and I don't control them, but the goal is to set them up. I think ego is healthy, but the thing is, it's the not y'all, but it's the stigma that they put on ego. You know what I'm saying? They put the stigma on ego to a point, and I told you already the real origin of the etymology of ego is nothing bad, but they made it to something bad. So then that way that if somebody calls you egotistical or somebody says that you have an ego problem, out of nowhere you become somebody who embodies some type of narcissistic ways. You embody self-centeredness and all of these different negative things. And I'm so
Absolutely.
big on words.
Because the thing
is
that
all
happened with
associated.
ego is because ego became attached to survival.
When you give too much of yourself,
100%.
you like if you're constantly pouring out,
You'll get resentful at some point.
you're gonna be resentful, and you have nobody pouring into you.
Yeah, then you're just empty.
Exactly. And I don't think you can function at an optimal rate, when you come to the table, if you will, like on E.
We take things sometimes very literal. So like even though what you're saying we hear is actually what we're actually saying versus what you're saying, your terminology or your definition of that slogan is different. If you said, "Hey, listen, make sure you're full so you can feed your partner the same way," that's way different than put
Yeah.
yourself first, though. Because put yourself first is generalized and has no boundaries. So that means when push comes to shove, who am I gonna expect for you to put first? You. So,
Always.
Yeah. You see what I'm talking
Because
about?
if we don't have ourselves, then
Thank you.
how can we expect you to have us?
Well, what we're saying is
No, you
It's not
came
selfish.
into this world by yourself.
That's the
you
only
will
relationship
leave
forever.
by yourself.
Even death do us
Thank
part.
you.
Someone's dying. And you're
Exactly.
still with who? Yourself.
Thank you.
And when
So
you
that's
walk-
why
when
your
you walk
relationship with
cheating-
yourself is so important. And that's
Come
what
on,
I'm
fellas,
saying.
Be selfish.
Since the beginning.
Fuck it all.
When you
No, Rico,
No,
that's good.
When you
Yes,
walk
be
cheating
selfish,
and
but
you're
not
for
in a
self,
way that is
Nah,
like
I don't
supposed
even
to
want
put
to
us
hear
first?
your reasons of ways.
no, because you're being
Be selfish.
Shut off.
Because
we're saying be open. Yes, we're saying be
open.
for yourself, but be open and understand that sometimes being for yourself is being for someone else.
You know how many times I've heard a
It's
girl
true.
say, and this is, I've spoken to a lot of women in my life, you feel me? And you know how many times I heard a girl say, yeah, my ex only cared about himself. Right? Right here. Beautiful, lovely women. Just put yourself first. But when a dude puts himself first, it really becomes a whole different thing. Like if I said I'm putting myself first, I'm only covering 50% of the bills.
Can I ask you a question?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Pardon me. 2 seconds. If I said, yo, I'm going to put myself first, so I'm only going to cover my half of the bills so I can make sure that I'm set up in case this doesn't work, right? If I said I'm putting myself first, so I'm only going to feed me or do what makes me happy, and then once I'm full, I could be the guy that you love.
Because you're operating from lack
How am
and fear.
I operating from
Because
lack?
you're saying, what if she leaves or like da 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 da? It's like, okay, in that moment, it's about being present. Like in this moment right now, can you pay full and feel good about that? Then cool. If not, you have something going on, then it's a discussion with your partner and then there's discernment and then you decide. And if that's really someone that loves you, they'll understand that you're in a situation where you have to do this because that's what's best for you, which in turn is best for both of y'all because
I just want to clarify because I think that when women say, put me first may not look like the same thing as when men say to put themselves first. So my question to you, Rico, is when men are saying that and you're encouraging men to do that, what does that look like?
This is how I take it, right? Like this is how I see it. And this is probably like a crazy example, but we're going there. When I hear a woman put herself first,
No. I want
but
you to
I-
tell me
but-
what men.
But this is what I'm saying. When men here put themselves first, the first thing, not the first thing, but the only thing that I can think that can actually make it so you understand what we actually hear is, and this is just an example, it's my body, my decision. That's putting yourself first at all cost. So when I'm saying that's what we receive it as, so when you ask me what does it look like, it's like my assets, my resources, my decisions, regardless of you, regardless of how you feel, regardless, and it's not
You
operating out
got
of
maybe
lack.
that happened to you, and that's why you guys feel this way.
No,
That's
no,
the lens.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
But
that's how we interpret it. Putting yourself first, like, because what I try to tell you, there's no boundaries. It can go from a 10 to a 1, which 1 to 5 might not be detrimental to anybody. But once you tell me that you're putting yourself first, I, as a man, have to prepare under the worst circumstances for me to trust that you're going to live up to the word of you putting yourself first, which is a whole different limelight. Now, maybe y'all not meaning it that way, but I'm telling you, when we hear that, that's what, well, I ain't gonna say all men, but when I and men like me hear that, that's what we interpret. That's how we digest it, and that's how we receive it. So when you're asking me how would I operate, I'm gonna operate as such from a 1 to a 10 on all levels. There's no boundaries on how I'm gonna put myself first.
But
Well, that's
no.
a you problem.
Wait. But I'm literally
I mean, we're just using the
asking.
words.
I'm literally asking.
That's-
Why?
Because the words.
I'm literally asking
Yeah.
if you're gonna tell a man put yourself first. What does it look like? Which has nothing to do with women, nothing to do with what women believe putting themselves first. What does that look like to a man? That's what I'm asking.
If I had to give you an example of what somebody putting themselves first is,
A man.
Not somebody, a man. Yeah.
a man. Those are the men that we talk
Well, because
about.
I'm asking a question and he didn't answer my question the first time. That's why I want to
thought
make sure.
did, but
No,
it's okay.
No.
A man that I can say is putting himself first right now is the men that we talk about who shit on women because they got money now and they got denied before. That's a man putting himself first. That's what that looks like. We know what we're not everybody, but we know what I'm talking about. So those are the men that are putting themselves first. They get money, they live their fancy life, they treat women like whatever because at the end of the day, they're putting themselves first. If they like her for her aesthetics and they just want to have a one-nighter with her or they want to have, some type of longevity. Yeah, that's what a man looks like with putting himself first, in my opinion.
So
This is
the reason,
So
No.
that's so like
This
wait,
is
no.
driven men speaking.
No.
And when women say putting herself first, it is like a sense of healing. It is a sense of mental,
like
a
a wholeness. Like you're.
But that's how a man heals. A man heals by
That's not
loving
how.
him.
oh, he got
Well,
money
he
now.
needs to read a book or
He
like
go shit on somebody?
a couple of
Oh,
books
shit on her.
and go to therapy. Like that's giving. I need therapy and I need self
But that's why
development
I'm
books.
saying, like, this is
Oh,
what the
boy.
whole thing that I'm saying is
Yeah,
that
and that's why I asked that question.
we have to
Very
understand
different.
Like
that.
shit on women. What are we
Shout out to
talking about?
Steve Harvey, because Steve Harvey's book said that men and women are wired differently. So when we're saying the
Access
same
for a
thing,
check.
but we're interpreting it in different ways, in different extremes.